In this video, I'm going to show you how I found this trade, which made me $3,394.53 after commissions. So let's get into it. So looking at the 15-minute, we really haven't had any significant breaks of structure until when we got to this point, we had this lower low, lower high, lower low, and then we broke into this higher high by breaking this 15-minute structure point just here. So with the dollar sinking and the euro now breaking the 15-minute range, I was interested in the potential idea of buying this just back towards some previous imbalanced areas. This was not prepped to ever be a full reversal trade. This was simply going to be a small trade to take us through a small phase of price action intraday. And why am I not interested in seeing a full reversal here? Well, if we look back over to the left, we can see that we're not really reacting from any meaningful area. We don't have a breaker, we don't have a demand zone, we don't have anything that's really supporting price at this level. But we do have this sudden shift in bullish momentum, which is the first we've seen in a fair time. And we can also see here on the 15-minute time frame that we have this range just here. Now at the top of this range, we have these two almost equal highs. We have this high here and this high here, and this acts as a little bit of liquidity for me. But overall, this entire range does. I'm expecting to see this range liquidated, meaning I'm expecting to see price push above the range before the next movements occur. Now, as I mentioned, this trade was only due to target smaller imbalanced areas. I was not looking for a full-blown reversal in the price action here. And we can see just above here, we have this imbalance in price, and this imbalance actually leads us into the supply zone just above. So we have this open supply, which has the imbalance leading into it, and this is at around the 1.08160 level. So with this new shift in the trend and this new strength coming into the market on the 30-minute and the 15-minute and below, I was interested in seeing if we could take the liquidity above this high, fill this imbalance, and trade towards this supply. I like to work with supply and demand and imbalances on every trade I execute, and we can see that below this impulsive move, we have this imbalance leading us into this demand zone here. So my plan of attack for taking the trade would be for the market to come back into this demand zone, and once we trade into here, I'd be looking for a shift out. Now, when I prepared this trade and when I sent this trade out to my team, I mentioned I wanted to see a confirmation entry like this, much like what we'd actually already seen here with this lower low, lower high, lower low, breaking into higher highs. I wanted to see a similar phase of price action take place within here to actually execute from. And the reason for that is because as we looked on the left, there is no demand, no supply, nothing holding the market up. So in order to be safe on this trade and not have to gamble into the market by just placing a buy order here, I opted to wait for a second confirmation. If we got this fractal confirmation, as we call it, which is basically a small repetition of what we've already seen, that is essentially the high and the low time frames agreeing here that we should go up. So from this point onwards, it is a waiting game to get that confirmation. So after some time, I returned to the market and I saw that price had come down into my demand zone. We then formulated this push up. We had this two equal lows, liquidated, and then a push to the upside. And what I was looking for at this point was a break of this high to confirm the trend. So this was the substructure reversal that we were looking for. Okay, we have the structure like this. If we can break above, then I would use one of these demand zones here to place my buy orders to take the market higher. Now, I actually prepared this zone, as you'll see sent to my team, for the buys. However, just before we got the break of structure, we had this big sell down. So it was not possible for me to get an entry from here. But as you see, just after this, we had this large impulsive candle. Now this impulse broke structure once again. And not only did it break this substructure now, but we've actually made a full swing structure break over this high as well. So now let's quickly map the trend just so you're in tune with what I'm talking about. We have this lower low, lower high, lower low, break into a higher high, a validated higher low, which is validated by the fact that we broke into another higher high. So now we have a clear, viable uptrending movement, and what we need to do is simply find a buy entry. Now, how I'm going to place my buy order is very simple. I'm just going to look at the demand that kicked off this movement. So I view demand as the last candle before the impulse, and really the last candle before the break of structure. Here we have this candle being the last candle before the impulse, basically a large range of consolidation before this kick up to the upside, which broke the structure and confirmed the move. So at this point, I would like to put my buy order on this level. I'd like to buy from this demand. I need my stop loss to be under the demand. And then obviously, where is our target sitting? We are looking for a target at 1.0816. Now, this brings a problem. And the problem that I have with this is I have a minimum rule. I can only take trades that are 1 to 3 risk reward or higher. So this position, being a 1 to 2.2, is no good for me. I need bigger risk reward. So at this point, what I needed to do was look for a refined way to get into this trade to increase the risk versus reward. And here's a simple tip for you. All I did was use the fib retracement tool to mark the high and the low of the demand zone, found the 50% mark, and actually placed my buy order at the 50% mark instead of at the top. Now, of course, sometimes this is going to miss, but my options here are limited. If I take the 2.2R trade, I've broken my rules, which is not good in the long term. So the only alternative way that I can get into this position is to go with this more refined entry. And you'll actually be surprised when we have a large zone, the 50% mark is hit very, very often. So I put my entry halfway into the demand zone at the midpoint. My stop loss was at 1.07600, and this trade is then around 5R from the midpoint with this stop loss at that 1.07600 level, looking at around a 5R position up towards that target. Fortunately for me, before it got too late and before I had to cut the trade for 2.5 or 3R, we did actually get that big push to the upside to fulfill the target, which closed bang on around 6 p.m. And actually, if you look now, you'll see the market has fallen all the way back down. So that's it. That's how I got the trade on EURUSD. That made me $3,394.53 after paying commissions. Despite being simple, the trade gave me a very healthy profit, and that is what we want from trading. We don't want to overcomplicate things, we want to keep it simple, straightforward, and profitable. I love this trade, and I would take it every single time I saw it in the markets, and that is what you need from a system. Hopefully this video has benefited you in some way. If it has, let me know in the comments below. If you've got any questions about the trade, also let me know in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do to help you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.